What's up, team? Get Up with Hannah here to help you learn the swing. Today, we are going to go through a progression of the swing. I'm going to teach you a few different exercises of how I like to teach my students how to do the swing. So we are just going to go through step by step, starting with the hard style plank, which is also going to be the top position for your swing, which is why it's so important to learn how to have that tension at the top of the swing. When we're at the top of the swing, we want to be in a plank position, so everything's engaged. We're not just throwing our body up at the top. So to find the hard style plank position, we're going to come down to the ground. We want to have about a 90-degree angle at that elbow. Hands are going to be parallel to each other, shoulder width apart. Bring those hands down to the ground. You're going to then tuck the toes. And then pulling ourselves into the position, I want you to squeeze and tuck your glutes. So notice as I squeeze and tuck, I'm pulling my belly button towards my spine. To finish this off, we're going to create a little bit more tension by actively thinking about pulling the elbows towards your toes and the toes towards your elbows. This is going to create a lot of tension at the core. You should be going for 20 to 30 seconds. And if you have any low back pain, that means you're probably doing the hard style plank wrong. So make sure you come down, maybe videotape yourself to assess if you're doing it correctly, or reach out to a professional if you're still having back pain. Moving on, so we are going to go into the hinge. The hinge is a very important part of the swing. We first want to make sure that you can do it correctly before going to the swing. We will go to the deadlift next, which is a huge part of the swing, but right now we're going to learn just the hinge as it is. So I'm going to show you two drills. One, I'm going to have my partner come and help me. And then the second one is going to be with a stick. So I'm going to grab a random stick. You can use a broom. If you have a dowel with you, if you're at a gym, you can use that. So what we're going to do with that stick is we're going to have 3 points of contact. Your head, your T-spine, so right at the upper back right here, and then your glutes. We want to maintain those 3 points of contact the whole time. So bringing it up behind us, I'll have this hand, just so you guys can see underhand, top hand over my head, overhand. So now we're gonna find those 3 points of contact. So we wanna keep those 3 points of contact. This is gonna help us understand a neutral spine as well. Have your feet about hip width or slightly outside of hip width, with those toes slightly pointed out, just like you would for this swing. And then you're going to send your hips back, allowing the knees to slightly bend, coming down until you feel comfortable, and then back up. As you're progressing with this, start with small hinges. So keeping those 3 points of contact, start with a small hinge, make sure that feels comfortable for you, then stand back up, finding that plank position, which we just went over. Going a little bit deeper each time. When we're in that hinge, we want to make sure that our shoulders stay above the hips and our hips stay above the knees. So try not to fall down. You'll also notice that you'll probably lose contact with your head if you try to go that far down. So when you do this, really think about your hamstrings and loading the hamstrings up. Loading up the hamstrings as you go back, driving through the heels, coming to a stand. All right, that's the first hip hinge drill. The second one we're gonna do is with a band. So I'm gonna grab my partner and we are gonna use a band for this one. If you're still having issues, and also if you're at a gym and you have a rig or something to tie your band to, that's totally fine. I'm just outside and I don't have access to that. So what you're gonna do with this is it's gonna help you find that hinge if you're not quite sure and maybe it's getting a little squatty. And you're gonna put it right at your hips, right where your hips hinge, right there, right where it breaks. I'm gonna have my partner come and grab it, or if you've tied it to something, you can tie it to like a rig or whatever's close to you. The important thing here is that he's gonna actually go lower than I am. So you want it to be tied at a lower position. So from here, I'm just gonna pretend like I have a bell in my arms. I'm just going to send my hips back and he's slightly gonna pull me. Not too much that I fall though. And then I'm going to push against the band as I come up and feel the tension. Allow it to pull back. You can pull on me a little bit more. It's nice to have a partner do this because they can actually pull the band back so you can feel it, and then come to a stand. So working slow and controlled on this one. And getting into the swing, we might as well talk about breathing. We're inhaling into the belly as we go back into that hinge, and then as we come up, we're exhaling with our plank. Exhale, squeeze everything. Think about rib cage staying tight. We're not squeezing and letting everything go. So finding that plank, exhale, squeeze the glutes, squeeze the quads, standing plank. So now that you know the hinge, we're gonna use that to go into the deadlift. One thing I will say, which we won't do today, but if you want to try the band hinge with the deadlift, you can totally do that. That will give you a good feeling of the hinge in the deadlift position as well. So now you're gonna grab light to medium bell, depending on your fitness level, and we're gonna go into that deadlift. So showing the stance first, we want our feet to be a little bit wider than hip width. Those toes are gonna be slightly pointed out. I train barefoot because you have more stability and balance, and you can also grip the ground. So notice that I'm actually kind of bring my toes off the ground so that I can grip going from my pinky toe to my big toe. And now I actually have more grip on the ground as I do my deadlifts. And when I progress to my swings, I will do the same thing. So the bell should be in between your feet, not by the toes. If you're looking from the side, the bell should line up with my ankle. So you shouldn't be able to see the handle of the bell because it'll be lined up with my ankle. Find that position. And then just like we just practiced, we're gonna work on that hinge. So if you want, sometimes it's helpful to like use your hands to hit your hip crease to send those hips back. Remember, keeping the shoulders above the hips above the knees. You're gonna grab that bell and then you're gonna pack your lats. So think about breaking the bell in half, and notice that pulls my shoulders down and back so that the shoulders stay away from the ears and you're squeezing your armpit down. So squeezing those lats back. Once you find that position, you're gonna drive through the ground to come to a stand. So think about driving through the ground with those feet. Coming up into that plank position. Notice I exhaled with my hips as I came up, and now I will inhale as I come down. Give me a few reps here. We'll do 3 more. And if you feel like you are still struggling to get the deadlift down, that is absolutely okay. I would practice the deadlift until you get it, because as we move into the swing, although the movement is the same, it is a ballistic movement, so it's a lot faster and there's a lot more room for error. So make sure that you have the deadlift down before you move to the swing. All right, moving on. We're gonna go to the explosive hip hinge. What I love about this drill is that it just helps without using a bell to understand how quick your hips are gonna be. When we do a kettlebell swing, we are using our hips to power that bell up. We're not using our arms. Think about your arms being a string attached to the kettlebell to bring that bell up. So when we go into that hinge and we have that bell, it's our hips that are coming forward, that explosiveness that drives the bell up, and then gravity brings it down. So what we're gonna do is practice that explosiveness without the bell first. So just like the beginning, what we did, we practiced those hip hinges. Get into that position, have those feet like as if you were going to do a kettlebell swing, so a little bit wider than hip width, toes slightly pointed out, grip the ground with those toes. You're gonna go slow and controlled in the back swing or the hip hinge. So slow and controlled, and then as you come up, I want you to use your arms. You're gonna throw your arms forward and come to a standing plank. Notice I'm actually finding that hard style position that I was practicing on the ground in the beginning. So slow and controlled. Inhale as you go back. As you come up, drive through the ground, squeeze everything nice and tight. Quads are on, glutes are on, core is engaged. Standing plank position, lats are down. As you get used to this, keep going slow on the way back so that you can get used to that explosiveness as you come up. And once this feels good, then we can move on to the swing. But give me 3, Let's do 3 more reps. So slow and controlled, inhale into that belly. Neutral spine, make sure we're not overextending. Make sure we're not rounding our back. 1, 2, 3. Good. All right, now that we've practiced that explosiveness, we are going to move on to the deadlift pull catch. So the deadlift pull catch, we're gonna start in the deadlift position. Just like we did for that deadlift, everything is the same. Setting the feet up the same, a little bit wider than hip width, toe slightly pointed out. That bell is gonna be directly in between our ankles. The only difference here now is we're doing it explosive. We're actually gonna catch it in our goblet squat position. So when you catch the bell, you catch it with the horns and the elbows are pointing down to the ground. Don't let the shoulders come up, keep them down. And then you're gonna bring it slow and controlled back down to the ground. So I'll show you from both angles first. From the side, send those hips back, pull the shoulders down and back, just like we would for the deadlift. Now you're gonna quickly drive through the ground, use the explosive hip hinges that we just practiced to pull that bell to the rack. Hold it here, make sure you're in that plank, and then slowly bring it down. Good. Practice slow on the way down until you get the hang of this drill. Showing you from the front. Don't forget to pack the lats. Shoulders stay back. Show you 2 more. Notice the elbows are down when I catch that bell. Really think about the core, think about the glutes, think about the quads. It's all tight at the top. And bring it back down. Whew. All right, so if you feel comfortable with the deadlift, you feel comfortable with the explosive hip hinges, and you feel comfortable with the deadlift pull catches, we're now gonna move on to the swing. So we know how we're supposed to be standing at the top in that plank. We know how we're supposed to be at the bottom. We know how to get to the bottom, from the bottom to the top with the explosiveness of our hips. Now we just have to feel it with this bell actually swinging in between our legs and coming up. I will show it to you, and then I will show you a common mistake that I see and how to fix that. So unlike the deadlift, the swing is gonna start in front of your body. So feet wider than hip width. The bell's gonna start in front of your body. I would say like 1 foot to 1.5 feet, but that's gonna vary depending on the person. And I'll show you how you fix that to figure out the best stance for you. From here, we're gonna practice that hip hinge just like we did. Send those hips back. And then we're gonna do 3 things. We're gonna grab the bell, we're gonna lean the bell towards our body, and then we're gonna pack our lats. When I pack my lats, that 3rd step, you'll notice that the bell slightly comes closer to my body. And that's what I mean by the bell distance in front of you. It's gonna be slightly different for everyone. I have really short arms, so the bell's gonna be pretty close to my body. If you have longer arms, it's probably gonna be a little bit further out. Here we go. Hinge, grab, lean it towards the body. Now pack your lats. Now we're in an optimal position. The momentum is going backwards. So when I do my hike, I'm in an optimal position to hike that bell back and to swing that bell forward. For the hike, once you get that down, when we hike it back, we want to keep the chest nice and tall, and we want to hike to the upper area of this triangle. So connection with the upper wrist to the upper thighs. I like to tell guys you're playing chicken. I know you know what that means. So promise nothing will happen. Here we go. Hinge, grab, lean, pack. Now let's just try the hike. Hike it back, set it down, re-engage. Hike it back, set it down. If you're getting used to this, and this is maybe the first time you've done it, reset every time. So actually stand up, hinge back, grab, lean, pack, hike it, and then stand up again. That'll help you because it's easy to fall out of position. If you're just sitting in that hike position, I find that people start rounding their backs. So if you can control and keep your lats packed, keep everything back, do a few in a row. If not, just stand up and reset every rep. So practice that as much as you need. And then we are finally going to the swing. Once we hike that bell back, we're in an optimal position now. to use those hips to swing the bell up. So here we go. We're gonna go for 5 reps. Don't think about it. The more you think about it, the harder it's gonna be. And then set it down always the same way you picked it up. So when I set it down, I bring it into my hinge and I bring it to the front of my body. It's gonna look like this. Park. Just like that, okay? So notice how effortless my arms are. They're just a string attached to the kettlebell. I'm not lifting the kettlebell with my arms. I'm not shrugging my shoulders. I'm leaving a little bit, I like to say not full arms straight, just slightly bent here so that you're not death gripping it. At the top, there's gonna be a moment of weightlessness where the power of your hips stops and gravity is about to take the bell down. At that point, your grip should be loose. Should almost feel like you could let go of your hands and nothing would happen. Let go, regrip, and then the bell comes down. As we come down into the swing, into that back swing, the biggest mistake I see here is that while the bell is up high, people start hinging back right away. And what this is going to do is going to put pressure at your lower back. When we swing, we want the bell to be close to our body in that hinge. If it's not, the further that bell is away from the hinge, the more pressure you're gonna put on your lower back. So, this is the hardest part, is the waiting game. It's really fast in the hinge. You come out, once you're at the top though, wait until, I like to say if you have Velcro on your rib cage and Velcro on your tricep, you're gonna wait until that connects to send the hips back. And then it's gonna rip off as you come up out of that swing. So try to wait as long as you can. It's gonna look like this. Pay attention now to the waiting game that I do. Wait. Just like that. So I'm not hinging back right away. I'm holding the plank, waiting until the bell comes down, and then I'm sending my hips back. What's gonna happen is if you do too soon, not only you're gonna have lower pressure on your back, the bell's gonna swing really low below your knees. So make sure you're paying attention to that. I would say practice with like a light to medium weight, 5 to 10 reps. Don't put it in a WOD or a workout if this is the first time you're learning it. Make sure that you get the form down and you're not overly exhausting yourself, because that's when your form is going to break. All right, guys, that is all for the swing today. Thank you so much for joining. Maybe you have problems with the swing that you're not sure how to fix. Please comment. I would love to create a video on how to fix those swing issues that you're having. Thanks again, and I will see you next time.